Hi, I'm Dr. Kathy Liu again. In this video, I talk about section 4.1, file input and output. Before, we always ask the user to enter the data using the keyboard. But you probably know it is not feasible. If we want to get 100 pieces of the data from the user, so in this case, we have to find other ways to get the input. One of the simplest way we can do is store the data in a file. And whenever we need it, we read it from the file. So right now, when I talk about the file, I talk about disk file. Now let's look at your homework. I use this example to show the file input and output. Well, mainly, input. We say the homework price analysis. We want to help a store, let's say, do some simple analysis. We will get a series of the price of the toys in the store, and we store all of the prices of the toys in a file, and then we can use a loop to read the data from the file. After we finish reading the file, we need to get, for example, the highest price of the toys, or the most expensive one, and we want to know how many are cheap toys. Cheap toys. What we mean? We say the toys, the price of the toys are less than $1, and we need to calculate, total. Add all the prices together. What's the total price? So in this case, if the store could have like 100 different toys, so the file could have like 100, prices. So in this case, we use file input to handle this large amount of the data. In another way, in other words, we say we use file, we read whenever we need the data instead of getting from the keyboard, we get it from the file. Now let's look at how we read the data from the file. Nothing, special. Just follow the steps as I mentioned. At this time, we it is like learning how to drive in a car. We know the steps, and then the car moves. So the same thing. In order to read the data from the file, and then we need to follow several steps. We say number one, import java.io.star and java.ut.scanner. So I do that one here. We say step number one, we import java.io.star, semicolon, import java.ut.scanner. So mainly, we import two packages so that we can use it later. Okay, step B, the second step, we need to throw IO exception at the header, at the end of the header. So in this case, we say immediately after main before the bracket. That's That's the curly brace to start the body of the main. So before the curly brace, we do the second step through uppercase O, uppercase I-O, uppercase E, exception. This one mainly, to prevent your program crash if we have some disk I/O errors. So right now you just put through I/O exceptions at the end of the main header, okay? And don't forget about it because you will get some errors that are difficult to handle. I mean, it's difficult to understand at this point. So keep this one in the mind. Throw IO exception. Okay, after that, we create a file, uppercase file object. I called it a lowercase file, uppercase file. That's the class name or the data type. We'll look at that later. And then lowercase f file, that's the variable name. We say equals new uppercase file again. And after that, that's the disk file name. So we will say file name. We ask the user to enter the file name, okay, before, sorry, excuse me. We ask the user to enter the file name, okay, before we create the file object. So, okay, now that's the third step. We create a uppercase file, uppercase F, file name, a file object, and connect it with the disk file that provided by the user. And then we can create a scanner object. So you know what the scanner object is, right? KB is one of the scanner objects. Okay, so we say we do the same things, uppercase scanner. This time, our scanner object, I called it input file, equals new scanner. Instead of using system.in, which means keyboard, okay, we use lowercase file. Okay, that's the uppercase file object. So this one, is file object. Okay, so in this case, we build the connection in between our Java source file, okay, with the disk file provided by the user. We connect them together. Okay, so after that, whenever we ask the input, it will get the file, file name, the disk file, and it gets the data. Okay, now after that, we have one method we can use. We call it as next. Okay, so now let's look at how to use it. We say while file, input uppercase file dot has next. And then we do something. Now let's look at has next. In order to use a file, file object, Java actually does lots of things for us. For example, the first time when we create new scanner file, okay, when we create the input file object, Java will go to the disk file and then make it readable and we call it a pointer, kind of the pointer points to the beginning of the file. So whenever we call has next method, Java will check, okay, do we have more data that needs to be read? For example, at the beginning, yes, of course, okay, the pointer points to the first unread data. Okay, so in this case, has next returns true. So I put it here. Okay, we say method has next returns true if there are some data to read, some data that we have not read yet. In the file, we say if there are some data in the file has not been that there are some data that have not been have not been read yet in the file. Okay, so otherwise it returns false. Okay, now so we start with the while loop. So whenever we have more data, we have some data we need to read in the file, and then we do something. So now let's read the data. We will say, let's say, let's define, okay, we say a double price. Okay, and then we say price equals input file dot the method, okay, kb dot same thing. Input file is scanner object, so it has the same methods that can be used as kb, okay, keyboard. So we say input file that has that next price is double. So next double. Okay, so right now I don't do anything. Now let's just print. Okay, we say system.out.print price. And for your homework, okay, then you need to do something. You need to add it to total, fund check to see whether we need update the highest and so on. Okay, so but right now I just read the data and print it on the screen and done. Okay, to the end of the while loop. When the while loop is finished, in another word, okay, we finish all the reading. There is no data needs to be read. So in this case, okay, now we're done with all the process, and then we close the file. We say input file dot close. We close the file. Okay, now let me run the program. Sorry, let me, this statement must be solved. Yeah, you know what? I don't need this one. And okay, now let me run it. Sorry, the rest. Okay, let's see. Everything looks fine. Now let me save and compile. Save as, let's see, lowercase I. Okay, import lowercase I, save as file read demo. Okay, so save as file read demo. Okay, yes, save it, and now compile it. Okay, so we have some unbalanced curly brace. I remove this one. So one for main, one for class. Let's see. Okay, java.ut.scanner. Compile it again. Input the file. Sorry, lowercase I. Save, compile, and okay. Now, in order to run it, we have to provide a file name. See, okay, enter the file name. Let's see which file contains the price. I don't have one, so I create a new one. New plain text file. Let me copy. Okay. I save. Make sure, okay, both files, the disk file and your Java file are in the same folder, okay? Because by default, Java file will look for the data file in the same folder. So unless you explicitly define another folder for the disk file, by default, Java always goes to the same folder. So I called it the prices.txt. Okay, now let me go back to the file read demo. Okay, we see enter the file name price.txt. Okay, now we have some errors. Okay, file not found, exception, price prices.txt. Okay, so I called it the prices.txt. Okay, so I compiled it again. Now let me rerun it. I called it the prices.txt. Okay, so we read all the data from prices.txt one by one. Say if you look at our program, so we read it one by one and print it. Okay, so that's the file input.